Hi guys, today I'm going to talk about 5 mistakes that upper intermediate students make. These aren't necessarily the 5 most important or most frequent, just when I was coming up with this list, these are things that I remembered from teaching my upper intermediate students. Things that perhaps should be worked on fairly early in your upper intermediate learning experience to help you moving forward. So, number 1 is articles. Articles often don't carry a great deal of meaning. For example, Russian speakers function very well without them. But in English, sometimes they do. They carry emphasis, or they just help with the understanding of what object, what person you're speaking about. Early in our English learning life, we learned some simple rules like I went to a shop, the shop was very busy, or a potato, an umbrella, or people are strange, the zero article. In rapid speech at upper intermediate level, sometimes, although we know these rules, they can slip away because you're concentrating on speaking quickly or subconsciously you are translating from Russian. There are a few ways to improve this. Those are, for example, learning more of the complex rules and just writing them down and saying them and repeating. Also recording yourself and listening back. At your level, you know the rules mostly. So it's a case of just catching yourself making the mistake and improving in the future. It's also important, the biggest mistake I find is when talking generally about things. And very often we use the plural without the article here. But anyway, that's something to think about at this stage, because if you can improve that, you improve your accuracy, and then you can forget about it, hopefully, because it's stuck in your brain. Phrasal verbs are quite interesting. I find even with my proficiency students, they struggle to incorporate phrasal verbs naturally. I talk with my friends that are also expert or native English speakers, and we use phrasal verbs all the time. And when I mention these to my proficiency students, some of them do say, wow, I've not heard that one before, which is surprising to me because of how natural they are. I don't know the reason for this. Maybe we just don't introduce enough phrasal verbs early on in our English learning life, or maybe because there's so many to learn. Another problem, I think, is that if you know the alternative word, sometimes it's better to use that because you know you're not going to make a mistake with the preposition. However, it can sound a bit formal, a bit stilted. So the more phrasal verbs you can pick up, there's one for you, and make a note of, and begin to replace some of the less frequent natural words that you use with phrasal verbs in speech, the better. So start your list, your dictionary of them today, and you can group them. You can group them based on the first part, or you can group them on the second part. You can group them in terms of topic. You can group them in terms of register. Is this really informal? Is it quite formal? But yeah, get your dictionary started today if you haven't. 3 features of connected speech. Now the next 3 points are all fairly interconnected. Features of connected speech are the ability to say things in a natural, quick, rapid, fluent way. For example, what are you going to do later is grammatically fine, completely understandable, but it's not how I would speak with my native expert speaker friends. I would say, what you gonna do later? What you gonna do later? This is more natural, a very common chunk, and if you can learn these chunks of language together, you start forming bigger bricks to the wall, bigger pieces that you can take forward, and then you start to see patterns. So even in less common phrases, in more complex grammar, you start to pick up the more natural way of saying something. So for example, I wouldn't have gone if I had known how busy it was going to be. Fairly complex sort of structure, but once you understand it, you understand it. But I wouldn't say it like this. I would say, I wouldn't have gone if I'd known how busy it was going to be. I wouldn't have gone if I'd known how busy it was going to be. If you can notice these and learn them as you learn the grammar, as you learn this new vocabulary, This will really help you not only with your production, your speaking, but also with your receptive, your listening skills. So whenever you learn a new structure, make sure you ask yourself, you ask your teacher, you go on websites such as playphrase.me and you listen, how is it said in natural spoken English? And therefore it should stay up here. Number 4 is intonation. Intonation is huge at your level. You can look back and feel very proud at the amount of grammar and vocabulary that you've learnt, how you're able to communicate in English at a high level. However, without intonation, your motivations can be unclear, your meaning can be lost, or in the worst case scenario, unfortunately, you can come across as uninterested or even rude. A simple expression such as, "I can't believe it," is lovely in a conversation. It shows that you're interested, surprised, shocked at what someone said. "I can't believe it." But it can also come across as being bored. "I can't believe it." Or sarcastic. "I can't believe it." So intonation is a real big thing to focus on. Also the stress within the intonation. I can't believe it, not him. No, I can't believe it, not I can believe it. You can have sentences with 10 more words in, and if you stress each word, it can change the meaning of that sentence. So intonation is something that you should really focus on every time you are learning a new phrase. Next, number 5 is vague language. A lot of the stuff within the words that we say is vague language, especially native to native, expert speaker to expert speaker, because it gives us time subconsciously to think about what we're going to say. It's a skill that we have. Therefore, it should become a strategy that you use until it becomes a skill. It can make things sound a little less direct, a little more polite. I've got a couple of examples for you, and I apologise, I need to refer to my notes. The first one is without any vague language and all this sort of fluff. It was a fantastic day. We didn't know what we were going to do. There was a strange atmosphere. Everyone knew it was bizarre, but we dealt with it. Fine. That's a normal sort of sentence, completely understandable. However, I doubt that one of my friends would say it like this to me. Here it is with some vague language and some fluff, shall we say. "Oh, it was such a fantastic day. We didn't really know what kind of stuff we were going to do. There was a sort of strange atmosphere. Everyone knew this was a bit bizarre, but, we kind of just dealt with it." That sounds far more natural to me. And I think it brings a lot more of the feelings of the speaker into the utterance. And it may seem like it's making it longer, but it's actually improving your fluency, improving your accuracy, because it's giving you time to think, but it's keeping things connected. You're not just sat there kind of, what's the next word I want to say? You're filling these gaps. And again, like I said, it's less direct. So try and introduce some of these bits of vague language, sort of, bit of, all those little things.